Secrets whispered on the digital waves. See the living history on the screen. Old melodies igniting the spark. Transported photos full of stories.
We did this before.
Someone just basically showed me a photograph last time.
Was that Hartford? This from Hartford?
Hartford, yeah. There was like
That's right.
2 James Bonds or something like that, wasn't it?
The 007s?
Actually, I'd heard of the Beatles through my wife, you know. Being from Liverpool, of course, you know, but the cavern and all that stuff, you know. But I didn't know I was going to record with them, you know. That guy who was there when we did, in fact, he did the first couple of takes, Ron Richards.
Yeah.
Ron Richards I did a lot of work for at the time, not particularly EMI, you know. So he was really instrumental in me being there that particular day, you know.
Was it Ron Richards who called you with regards to the Beatles session?
Yeah. Well, the EMI's fixer, you know, but through Ron, yeah.
Was there any mention at the time of Pete, the fact that there'd been a drummer before, Ringo?
Yeah, no, I didn't know the story at all, you know.
Yeah,
Nothing
just
about
came,
it.
Just came in clean to the
I just went in and came out.
At that time, you weren't aware that, you know, that there was a Pete Best, you know, and it's been misconstrued over the years that you were called in to take Pete's place.
Oh yeah, well, there's so many stories, you know.
Yeah. Where in actual fact.
Well, he'd already left the group, hadn't he? Yeah. And Ringo was a member of the group.
Yeah. When did you first hear, you know, that there was another drummer, that there'd been another drummer?
I can't remember. I just suppose somebody just mentioned it, you know. Offhand, you know, say, well, there was another guy there, you know, before. I mean, we did a lot of work with other groups, you know, and you know, nothing ever happened, kind of thing. Maybe some people made it okay, you know, but there was a lot that went on, even to the extent of none of the guys playing on the record, but the session musicians playing on it, you know.
What did you make of the Beatles when you first saw them?
This is a well often asked question. No, and it's the same answer, you know. I was impressed with them because the fact that we're doing their own material, you know. Lots of groups then were just doing copies of American things, you know. And in fact, I believe when the guys, the Beatles went to Decca, I think they did something like that and they turned them down, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
So they finished up down the road.
What was your impressions of the Beatles as individuals, meeting them that day? How did they
Well,
come across?
the only two people I really spoke to were John or Paul, and that was mostly in connection with the songs we were doing, you know.
And George was just keeping himself to himself?
Yeah, you know.
At the time, did you know that Ringo was going to be there, and what was your impression at the time? Because he obviously had to sit out.
Yes, sure.
How did he look, or did he say anything about having to?
No, we
sit
never
out the
spoke.
session?
No.
Never spoke.
I think he was surprised, you know, shocked maybe, seeing somebody else setting the drums up, you know, when he came in. Must have thought, oh, wait a minute.
What were they giving you as a guide to?
Just playing the thing over and over, you know, and suggesting. I think probably all the numbers that we did, they'd been playing for some time, you know, because they had a routine for each one. especially the likes of Please Please Me, you know, with the different breaks. And
What did you think of Love Me Do and P.S. I Love You?
I thought they were good, yeah. You know, it was, as I say, original stuff. You know, I liked, I liked Love Me Do, and I liked P.S. I Love You, you know. Please Please Me I was impressed with, because that's more of an arrangement, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember the session itself, Love Me Do, P.S. I Love You, Please Please Me? Was it a long session, or were the tracks, you know, put together very quickly?
Well, and all the songs, they had to play them over, you know, so that I could get the routines, because they didn't have any written music.
So it was a case of sitting through the track over and
Yeah,
over again.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's been that explains it actually, because it's been documented that Love Me Do took 18 takes. And I remember when I read that, I thought, well, no, your background.
Yeah,
You know,
but of course it could be, you know, just it couldn't be somebody else goofed up or I goofed up, or, you know, the routine wasn't quite right. And it doesn't always mean 18 tracks, you know.
Yeah.
It might be in 1 minute or something. Oh no, do another take.
Yeah. Yeah. Which other tracks did they go for that day with you? Do you remember?
We did Let Me Do, we did P.S. I Love You, and a version of Please Please Me, which I think might have been on the first album.
Ringo did play on a couple of those tracks, but he didn't actually get to play drums on the
He was
session.
playing maracas on one
Yeah.
of them anyway. Yeah.
Whose suggestion was
I have
that?
no idea.
No idea.
I think it was actually on that P.S. I Love You did maracas.
The Love Me Do, P.S. I Love You tracks. Were you aware at that time that it was going to be your take that would be going out as the first single?
No, I had no idea. No. I didn't even know who I was going to work with.
Well, they just called you.
Yeah, you just call you in. I mean, that was the thing. You hardly ever knew who you were going to be working with.
Yeah. Atmosphere like in the studio that day. Again, going from what I've read and things I've been told, the producer was Ron Richards.
Yeah, he came in at... George came in towards the end, you know. There was I can remember, it was a morning session and he wasn't there to begin, you know. So he asked Ron to kick it off.
Yeah. And who else was there on that day? Can you remember who else was there?
That was all that I could see. You know, I was only in the studio, you know.
Yeah.
There may have been other people in the box, but
Yeah. And as you said, later on towards the session, Ron Richards went and... Did he go and fetch George Martin, or did George Martin just...
no, I think he just arrived. Yeah.
Yeah. What was his input into the day when he turned up?
I think they'd done it, more or less done it all, you know.
Yeah.
So he probably didn't do anything.
Yeah, just came in,
But,
watched
well,
a bit of carousing.
it wasn't very apparent to me because it was in Studio 2, I think, where they had the big stairway up to the control room. So you couldn't always see who was in the control room,
Yeah.
you know. So George could have been there earlier on, you know. I'm not sure, I was too busy anyway.
Obviously, after doing those sessions, where did your career lead you then? And did the fact of being, you know, playing Love Me Do, did that open doors?
I don't think so, because nobody was supposed to know about it.
Oh, it was supposed to be kept quiet?
Yeah.
Oh, right. It wasn't kept that quiet, was it? Wasn't a good secret.
No, but it's true. And the first time was actually, what would you say? Not owned up to, but I mean, the first time it became really public knowledge was when they issued a 12-inch single 20 years later. It had Ringo's version and my version of Love Me Do, and my version of P.S. I Love You on the back. In 12-inch, you know, they made them.
Yeah.
It's strange, this. I was using a 5-piece Ludwig set, like Ringo finished up having, on the recording. Yeah, so I don't know whether that was an influence.
as you say, Love Me Do was released with yourself playing, and then there was the compilation that came out, the two different versions of Love Me Do and P.S.
Yes,
I Love
yes.
You. The original P.S. I Love You that was released, was that yourself? Do you know?
No, it was Ringo on the original one, I think. I think I was on the first album that they had. P.S. I Love You, you know. No, I mean, Please Please Me, you know. Yeah. In fact, I've got on the anthology actually. That was my version. I think they had, because I knew the drum sound. You know. Because Ludwig sounded a lot different from Premiere, which Ringo had at the session. Yeah. I mean, it was a very interesting experience, you know. But, and as I say, I liked the music, you know.
No, Levin's tuning George's guitar. Chorus. If you just want a snip of it, you can do the chorus in an even. The haikus and things. Well, the reason it goes up, there's a special DVD which is specifically on this. I know, yeah.
The CD came about. It was inspired by the documentary, really. We were filming Pete's life story, putting Pete's life story together, and it inspired the CD, original material, and a work in progress, because at the time of doing this, we're still working on the CD, and it is autobiographical. All the songs are relevant to different aspects of Pete's life, or at least we'd like to think so.
Just jam with it, innit?
She said what she said, and you know that she speaks her mind. But let me tell you, everybody knows she is the loving kind. She sees what she sees, her eyes, you could do no wrong. And if the story really be told, she sings a sad song. The beautiful boys turn bad. The beautiful boys turn bad. And it makes her feel so sad. She was the best thing you ever had. She knows what she knows in her heart. She knows it's you.
Astrid's team. Yeah. Well, it's got a twist, hasn't it, the story? You know, it's beautiful at the time and all that black and white shadowy photographs and stuff. And Astrid was there and seen it all. And she lost the love of her life through it. And then the Beatles went and flew their way. But it has a double meaning as well because of Pete and the boys weren't that beautiful. That's how the song's going anyway at the moment.
She really wanted a big house, which was difficult to get at the time. So she decided that she would put everything she had, which included all the jewellery and everything, on a horse in the Derby, which was an outsider called Never Say Die. The horse came in at 33-1. She bought the house here in Hayman's Green, used the cellar as a coffee bar, and that's where the Beatles started. So it was a very, very significant thing. And again, what we've tried to do is capture that in the song, and the story is in the song. If you listen carefully, all the details are in there.
Come With Me to the Casbah, really, that was sort of my mother's war cry at the time when she opened the club. You know, it was Come With Me to the Casbah. She could imagine young men saying to their girlfriends, come with me to the Casbah. And Paul came up with this very sort of Eastern vibe, musical vibe. And then really then from there in, myself and Phil pitched in with some of the lyrics contents, and of course with the production there was a few things we took out, a few things we added, and I'm very happy with the result.
Lights up the darkness, we all become one. Come with me. Come with me. Come with me. Come with me.
It was kind of like, especially when we're in the States, the question they always ask Pete is about, well, you must feel like really bad about what happened and all the rest of it, you know. And he always responds in the same way. He always kind of says, yeah, it happened, but I've had a great life. I'm happy now. He's very much a family man. So the idea of the song was kind of looking back at things that had happened and people and places and stuff like that. But at the same token, saying, yeah, that's happened, but right now I've got everything I want, and that's the idea of the song. See you, mate.
What key is that? I didn't even know the chords.
D, just like a D.
Like that. No, see, no.
Yeah.
Take 2.
I can recall, hide in the past that was blessed by them all. Picture it now, picture it then, a means to an end, where to begin. I can color it out, you can color it in. Look in the page of an old magazine, torn apart yesterday, lost in a dream. All the things I want, everything I want is here.
Well, obviously, it's not just a case of the lads putting the material together and it gets a straight go-ahead. You know, we normally demo the song, run it past Pete, see if he's happy with it, and so far so good. You know, he's liked what we've done, and then of course once we start mastering, Pete comes down, starts laying some drum tracks down, and also pitches in a couple of ideas. You know, basically can tell us if we're going the right way or no, you're a bit off the boil with that one, lads.
But it's been a good working relationship, you know.
So it's, this one I just thought from their point of view, for her that was very important. And I think as Alan said about she used to say,
we don't know where bus stop is to get home.
Yeah, so that's
So it's a great line. She just, I don't know. I said, you're lost in town.
Did she say it?
I said, where do you buy a landmark?
I wondered if this would work.
By the train station. I said, I'll stay by the train station. I said, I'll probably get it.
And it's also fallen in love with the shoes as well, through the camera.
You doing it all? That one you're looking for, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
yeah, I think I got that. I got, that's the one. Yeah.
Someplace far away, captured in a moment. Won't you let her stay there? Focusing the camera
The real Beatles.
into their eyes, or just a moment.
You two can play productions and whatever.
Watch eternity fly. If you catch her laughing, she may not be alone there.
The segment that we do
We'll put this down again then. As well.
Happy to have
You can get that mood, get the mood about right.
watch her reminiscing, flashing through time, for just a moment. Oh, a beautiful voice.
Don't sing that.
That's my favourite bit.
Got to the end of the bottle. The brandy was
Yeah, I was getting fed up, yeah. Well, under the concept. See what I mean? This is this loose Oh, there you go.
Faithful to Brian.
I knew this fucking original thing.
I bet you Brian Poole didn't have to put up with this.
How did the concept for the CD come about?
I don't know.
He's here still. And Caspar's still here. His family's here. And the music's still here, hopefully. You know, it's what we're trying to do.
Same question with the song Step Outside.
Step outside. You have to ask me that one again because I can't remember what it comes like.
Okay, we'll move.
Cut to step outside. And then back again.
Oh, that's got to be the one.
But right now I've got everything I want, and that's the idea of the song. You know, and people may think that he's sitting home worrying and miserable all the time, but he's not. He's happy with what he's got, you know. And he's got everything I want.
He's got everything I want.
I changed my drummer twice to try and get a drummer like Pete.
That's a load of bollocks about him not being a good drummer.
I think he was the best looking of the Beatles, and perhaps a bit jealous, I don't know.
Who did they turn out to be?
John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
If you didn't see the Beatles on the Cavern with Pete Best, you haven't seen the Beatles.
And I heard Pete Best play, and he got a new kit of drums, so I went back. I said, you've got to get him, he's brilliant.
And I got the phone call from Paul McCartney. He said, we know you're playing drums now, and we've had the offer to go to Germany.
So he came along, and we pretended to audition him, but he'd already got the job. But we didn't tell him that, in case he upped the money, you know.
The rumour was around, there's a new band coming over from England.
We played the Cavern, gone down fantastically as we normally did. The place was packed. And at the end of the night, I got a message from Brian, which basically turned around and said, Pete, I'd like to see you in the office in the morning. In 1988, I was persuaded to do a one-off performance in Liverpool, and that's all it was going to be. The show was recorded for posterity, but later, due to public demand, it was released on a CD called Live at the Adelphi. A promoter in Canada called Barry Naylor heard the CD and invited myself and the Pete Best Band over to tour. Again, it was only going to be a one-off, but since then, we've been touring the world. So here's some shared and private moments from those years.
in Toronto. We've been travelling all day. We've just finished. It's about 2 a.m., half 2. And fucking... It's 9:30 in the morning on, I don't know, what day is it? It's about the 9th, 8th of July, something. And I'm still naked.
I've walked all around hoping that I might have found somebody else instead of you. And I've done everything, but I'm just a missing link. Why did I fall in love with you? And I've told everyone every little thing you've done, although there's nothing I can do. And every day I find that you're always on my mind. Why did I fall in love with you? I'll keep my fingers crossed, though everything is lost, I guess it's just gotta be. I still love you, though I just gotta know why you don't love me. 'Cause I've done everything, even bought a little ring, and then you said that we were through. And if you love him like I love you, then there's nothing I can do. Why did I fall in love with you? I guess that it's just gotta be. I still love you, though I just gotta know why you don't love me. 'Cause I've done everything, even bought a little ring, and then you said that we were through. And if you love him like I love you, then there's nothing I can do. Why did I fall in love with you? Why did I fall in love with you? Why did I fall in love with you?
1954, my mother Mona took a big gamble and bet on a rank outsider of a horse, which went on to win the English Derby at a fantastic price of 33 to 1. That horse was called Never Say Die.
Then in the straight run for home, Never Say Die began to draw away from Darius on the rails. Yes, this is where the derbies are usually won or lost. And now with Never Say Die looking a clear winner, Arabian Night makes a bid for glory. He's overhauling Darius with every stride, but he can't get up to Never Say Die, who maintains his two-length lead right to the finish. A grand win from Arabian Night and Darius by this 33 to 1 long shot.
In May 2005, whilst touring America with my band, the Pete Best Band, we were invited to meet this well-respected gentleman who was responsible for bringing Never Say Die into the world. And after visiting the farm and seeing the stables where Never Say Die was actually born, we finally got Mr. John to sit down and tell us in his own words this heartwarming story. And who'd have thought that a horse born more than 50 years ago would be linked to the world-famous Casbah Coffee Club and associated with the rise of the biggest icons in the music industry, the Beatles.
You ever forget things? You guys are British, I take it.
Yes, sir.
After I finished breaking the yearlings, I moved everything to Hamburg place for half of it. And we operated it there, and that's where one of Clark's mares that he sent there was Singing Grass, who was carrying in utero in Singing Grass was carrying a colt that turned out to be Never Say Die, but he was called Never Say Die because that was in the first year I was, Mr. Clark's mares were foaling, and we had this little mare, and she started to foal, and I got Andy Curd, who was about 70 years, and this mare was small and the foal was very big, and we couldn't get the damn foal out. We pulling the mare around in the stall and everything, and we finally got the foal out of the mare, and it went, and I said, oh man, and tried to get him going, and he was, so I ran and got a bottle of bourbon, and I drank half of it running back to the stall, and I gave him the rest. And we got him to live. And I told Mr. Clark about the story, and he's in New York, and that's how he named him Never Say Die. And we raised Never Say Die, and we broke him on our farm, and then sent him over to England, and he won the English Derby. And needless to say, I got a little more pretty, it's good for the farm, for me, to have done that or been associated with it. And so that was the start of John Abell Farm and we stayed there until Mrs. Madden got married again, the guy that
It gives me great pleasure to introduce the next segment of the DVD because it involves a very dear friend of mine from Hamburg. It's the first time Astrid Kirsch and myself, after being apart for 30 years, got together again for a little chat. And we talked about the old days. It was special to her, it was special to me, and I hope it's special for you.
Well, Pete, now we're here after 36 years in the Kaiserkeller, and I remember when I walked down these stairs up there, listening to that loud, loud music, seeing you all for the first time. It was unbelievable. It was a shock. My heart started beating and I couldn't believe it.
It's funny actually, because I mean, actually being here now,
Yeah.
you know, in the Kaiserkeller, you know, and sitting here, I mean, because the stage used to be on the left-hand side,
right.
didn't it? You know, pointing off there. So when you used to walk in, I was just imagining you walking through, you know, coming down the stairs from the outside and walk, you know, making your entrance and coming through and actually seeing it, because as you came through the doors, you could see the band straight away on stage.
Sure, all of you.
Yeah.
And I will never ever forget that first impression I got of you lot standing there, and it was unbelievable. And your charm and the gift, you could hear it already, you know, how great you all were and how well you played together and how much fun you had as well.
I think it was. A lot of it was fun, wasn't it? I mean, okay, I mean, it took a while for the German audiences to accept us. I mean, a lot of people have always turned around and said, you know, we played one night and Hamburg accepted us the next night, but it took a little bit of time.
Yes.
But I think while that was going on, I mean, the old expression, mock shell, you know.
Yeah.
You know, once we reached that confidence, you know, and it was a case of, you know, we used to do things on stage like John jumping off the piano and doing the splits, and George sitting on his amp, you know, smoking away and drinking, and you know, Paul bandying backwards and forwards with John. There was always something going on stage to it, you know. People could watch as well as listening to the music. You know, there was always something visually going on or something funny going on that people could sort of like entertain themselves with.
And you looked very confident, you know, on stage. And when we talked before, I think it was because you had these Germans after a while, like Horst Fascher and Ali, who looked after you, and you just looked so confident, and you could do whatever you like.
I think that was it. I mean, knowing that we had those guys, you know, who were friends, but they made it quite clear, you know, I mean, if anyone sort of messes about with you or picks on you or something like that, you know, we will deal with them, you know, so it was, you know, I mean, that led to us. I mean, okay, we were confident in our own measure, but knowing that they were behind us, I mean, that gave us another layer of confidence, another layer of energy, which was like, we can do anything, you know, we try anything. Sure we did,
And you could, I mean, I was here nearly every night, and I could, I noticed how your style developed, you know. Sometimes you were very exhausted, and especially on the weekends when you had to play for 8 hours.
Long hours.
Non-stop, you know, or with a little break in between. But you never looked like, I'm fed up, you know. Sometimes at 4 or 5 in the morning, all right,
Yeah, but I think, I mean, we slowed the set down a little bit at 4 or 5 in the morning, didn't we? You know, we used to sort of play a little bit more, you know, slow numbers, a bit more bluesy stuff.
Stuart had to do his Love Me Tender.
Of course, I mean, that was the strict instructions, wasn't it? You know, that was the cue. We always knew when you came into the Kaiserkeller. Okay, I mean, we didn't have to see you.
You know,
Yeah.
Stu would be the first to sort of spot you out in the crowd
Yeah.
or something like that. And within about 5 minutes of you actually coming, it would be a case of, can we do Love Me Tender?
Yeah,
You know, and he used to,
yeah,
that was it, you know,
yeah.
and it, bang, Love Me Tender would be done. We'd all turn around and say, Astrid must be here. You know, where is she? Ah, yeah, same spot,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
she is, you know.
And sometimes Paul just went, oh no, please. But it was great, you know, and all the requests we had, you know, all my friends, and you all played it all the time. You know,
Well, that's what was so great about it, I think,
Yeah.
you know, the atmosphere. I mean, people have sort of turned around and asked us, you know, how many songs must you have played, you know, when you were on 6-7 hours a night?
Yeah.
And we sort of turned around and said, yeah, we had a big repertoire.
You really had.
But a lot of the time, busy nights, you know, the likes of yourself and your friends or something like that would be sending up requests, you know,
Yeah.
play this song for us, can you play this song for
Yeah,
us?
yeah, sure.
And a lot of the time we spent on playing requests. And it was great, I mean, because
Yeah.
we knew that, you know, we were playing something which the audience wanted to hear. And of course, you know, the German audience being very hospitable, you know.
Yeah,
if,
yeah, yeah,
If we
yeah,
played a request, they'd always give us a bottle of beer or
Yeah,
schnapps.
sure, yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Prost,
Yeah.
you know, down in one and away you go. That was it.
Sure, yeah. But thinking about it now, I mean, it's hardly, I can hardly believe it. You played for sometimes 8-9 hours, not only playing but singing as well. And sometimes John's voice was just off, you know.
Well, I think we nicknamed it the Hamburg throat.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was it. That
sure.
we used to,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
everyone
yeah,
who sort of
yeah,
came,
yeah,
you know, the long
yeah.
hours and all the rest
Yeah,
of it, and
yeah.
the smoking and the drinking and all
Yeah.
the rest of it. Because, I mean, it was funny. I mean, they were singing long hours, but we wouldn't stop smoking. You know, we wouldn't stop drinking.
I mean,
anything
you
like
could, if you were non-smokers in this place in '61, there was no air conditioner or nothing. You would have been dropped dead on the
that.
stage.
Well, remember there used to be a smoke haze when you
Yeah.
used to come in. You
Yeah,
know, there
yeah,
was
sure.
You know, of an evening.
Yeah.
There'd be body heat. You know,
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah, yeah.
warm. You know, and
Yeah.
it was dank. But there'd be a layer of smoke as well,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
nearly everyone was smoking. You know, and
Sure,
we used to
yeah.
smoke on stage. As
Yeah,
well, you know,
yeah,
so I mean,
yeah.
you know, at any given time there'd be 5 people all sitting there, you know, going,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
stubbing the cigarettes, you know, lighting another one
yeah,
and this type
yeah.
of thing. But,
No, it was wonderful, you know. And sitting here now, it's talking to you. It's great. It's a great pleasure for
but
me.
it doesn't seem like 36 years.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, that's the funny thing. I mean, talking to you again tonight, I mean, I talked to a lot of people, but I mean, sitting here now in the Kaiser Keller, you know, reminiscing and reflecting about things, it really brings it back to you how long ago it was. I mean, it all seems a little bit like yesterday, but then when you know, someone you haven't seen for a long time basically goes, it was 36 years ago.
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
go, wow, that's a lifetime.
Yeah, it
You
is.
know, and
yeah.
yet we can still talk so affectionately about it.
Yeah,
which is
but
great.
it's not for me, you know, it's like it was, like you said, it's like yesterday,
Mm.
especially talking to somebody like you know, who was there at the time, you know, giving me personally all that joy and happiness, you know, which I still, when I think about it, gives me a big smile.
Oh yeah, I mean they were great memories. I mean,
Yeah.
regardless of what happened, you know, I think it's a time, and you could try and put it into words, and you could try and put it in a book,
Yeah.
and you couldn't explain it.
No, no,
you know,
no,
I mean,
it's-
it's something which I think you have to sort of be there and feel it for yourself. You know,
When I met them the first time, I was a photographer, and seeing them, it was a photographer's dream. Their faces and their wit and charm and good looks, of course. So I just thought, I have got to take their pictures. So one night I finally got them all together and asked you all, and my heart was really bumping. I thought, oh, maybe they don't like it. They say, oh, no, you know. But they all were so wonderful. They said, yeah, when you want us to be there? So we met the next day at 12 o'clock, which was a terrible time for you, I believe.
very early in the morning.
Yeah,
Actually.
but you were on the spot. Not one of you were late. And then I had this little car and got everything in, all the boys and the drums
And the equipment,
the
guitars,
Yeah, and
yeah.
you know, we got a taxi as well.
Mhm, yeah.
And we went to the fairground, and then I just told you all what to do, you know, how to look and how to stand there, and you were so brave. You were like professional models. Not even John made a funny remark, which is pretty unusual, as you know.
Not while we were on camera anyway, but
no,
I mean,
no,
what was going on. So.
And that's when I took all the famous shots.
Yeah, I know, but I think from our point of view, I mean, your reputation as a photographer, that all we'd heard about it, and then it was a case of, people had come up and said, Astrid, she's a very good photographer, and you're friends with, it's a photographer and all this type of stuff. So, as much as you being sort of a little bit apprehensive about asking us, when you asked us, it was like, wow, we're going to get photographed, and it wasn't just a case, as you turn around and say, we all met up. And then we quickly realised it wasn't just a case of, a snapshot or, smile for the camera, please, it was like, no, this is the way I want it, and you posed us and you got us to, do what it was. And I think that's why the photographs are so great. They're still alive, that's the main thing.
And when I think about it now, when we did them, I mean, with these 5 wild ones, and me, little tiny Astrid, standing there with a camera, telling them what to do, and they all said, yes, madam, sort of thing, And the most wonderful thing I remember is when, after a couple of days, I came into the Kaiserkeller, and I had for each one of you, quite big prints. I think they were about 30 to 40 centimeters. And your eyes, all of you, it was like Christmas and Easter in one day, You could not believe it. You've never seen prints like that.
We hadn't, that was it. I mean, your style of photography and, the way you'd posed us and everything was totally new. I mean, it was like, and then when you came up and gave us the photographs, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Now we can show people, we've got our own copy. And we can keep that, but we can go back, and if people turn around and say, well, let's see the photographs you got in Germany, it was like, look at that. That's something different, isn't it?
And George just said, oh, they're so big, I've never seen anything like it. He was so impressed because of the size of them as well,
And the
sort
way
of
they
show off.
And, the locations as well, because, I mean, some of the photographs which you gave us and we took back, it was so great to be able to sort of turn around and say, yeah, that one was taken at the fairground, and that was the trailer, and we went up by the Bismarckplatz and then we crossed over the road, or we drove there, and there was a whole story unfolded as regards how we actually got there. So, it was a case of, look at that, and I'll tell you a story about that now as well.
No, it was really wonderful, And I just took them because I was so impressed by your looks and, of course, by your personalities, not because I had in mind that there are the world-famous Beatles, But you were my friends, and, I felt very comfortable in your company, and I thought if I get it together, taking you or getting you on one picture, it will be a good one, which was, I didn't know it was that easy.
Well, I mean,
when I had the idea, but it was absolutely professional work done by all of you.
But I think we were proud as well. I mean, it was a case of, I mean, someone was actually taking the trouble, to photograph us, and not just a case of like, holiday shots or something like this, but to look at it and turn around and say, no, I want you to stand there, put that there, hold this on your guitar, lift your chin up a little bit, this type of stuff, and, and balance it out, leather jackets, hunting jackets, jeans, whatever the case might be.
Well, the haircut, it has been so misinterpreted all these 100 years, that it's so awful because it's so simple. My boyfriend, Klaus Hohmann, and all my friends in art school had this haircut, as you remember well, So when they came in and Stuart met Klaus and they became friends, and Stuart said, oh, I would love to have this haircut. So because we didn't have the money to go to the hairdressers, and anyway, they still did the Hitler haircut. So we used to cut one another's hair then. The girls used to cut the boys' hair. So that was natural for me, cutting Klaus' hair and the hair of my boyfriends, from school.
Yeah.
So Stuart said, I want this hairstyle, So I did the haircut for him, and that was it. And remember when Stuart came in with that hairstyle.
Yeah.
Remember your remarks, and especially from our friend John Lennon.
Yes, it was, I think, as we would turn around and say in Liverpool, he got the mickey taken out of him a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
But sure enough, I mean, Stu stuck by his guns. He wanted to wear his hair. I think he combed it back the first night, and then the second night he put it back down again or something like that.
No, he was very stubborn, if he wanted something. And the next one was George.
It was. Yeah.
In Liverpool, when I came to see you in Liverpool, he just knock on the door. Can you do that hairstyle for me, little Georgie?
Yeah.
And then John and Paul followed when they went to visit a friend of us, Jürgen Vollmer, you remember him as
Paris,
well.
wasn't it,
And he was in Paris, and they went to see him.
Yeah.
And he got them the haircut.
They came back.
Yeah.
They came back with the haircut.
But the funny thing, I bet you remember it as well. Remember my colourless jacket?
Yes. Yeah.
And Stuart used to wear my stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when he walked into the top 10 with that colourless jacket, and John said, hey, what's that? Have you got your mom's jacket on? And later on it took time, for you to accept things, I believe,
Yeah, but it made an impact.
Yeah.
Because, look at the jackets they wore afterwards.
Yeah,
They
sure.
were colourless, they
Yeah,
were buttoned down, which was similar to the style that you kicked off.
Yeah.
So, what initially we laughed at became style.
Yeah, well, but I think it was, as far as influences go, is a giving and taking, you influenced me so much by being, first of all, that brave, being that young, and playing all these hours, and being such professionals.
I think that's a great point, that. People tend to forget how young we were.
Yeah.
When you think about it, George was 17.
Yeah.
The rest of us were 18, 19.
Yeah.
First time away from home, playing these long hours,
And don't forget the style you were living, the places they put you in. That was unbelievable.
And it was like a handsome-out existence. But you look back and it was like we'd virtually left school.
Yes,
and here
sure.
we were,
performing. And in a country which was still the bloody Germans, our enemies, and the opposite as well.
Yeah.
What did you expect coming to Germany? John told me once he was expecting all fat, blonde German girls, eating sausages and sauerkraut,
Yeah.
And so did George and Paul, and I bet you too.
It's the impression you had.
Yeah, and the Hitlers, sort of being behind every corner, And then suddenly you notice that there are young people who look decent and are respectable and searching for something. But it was the same on the other side. We were afraid meeting young English boys because we had all that guilt on our shoulders, from the war. And so it took time to get over all that and just discover we are all young and we want to have something new, discover something new. And
that was the key word.
Yeah.
Something new.
Yeah,
It was there and everyone wanted to sort of turn around. It was like, that happened.
Yeah.
We are another generation.